welcome back. So another concept that's frequently asked in economic JAMB is the concept of elasticity of demand and supply. So we take the first one, elasticity of demand. So what is elasticity of demand? Elasticity has to do with the degree of responsiveness. That is how one factor causes another factor to change. Alright, so elasticity of demand in this context, it has to do with the degree of responsiveness of change in quantity demanded as a result of change in quantity in factors that affect demand. There are three main factors that affect demand: price of other commodity, and say income. So, and we have three major types of elasticity of demand. We have the price elasticity of demand, which I call the PED. We have the income elasticity of demand, which is the IED, and we have the cross elasticity of demand, CED. So we pick them one after the other. What is price elasticity of demand? That is the degree of responsiveness of change in demand as a result of change in price only. That is, price being the only factor affecting demand. And it has a formula. That is a percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. So we know that price is a factor that always affects demand. The higher the price, the lesser quantity that is bought, and the lesser the price, the higher the quantity that is bought. So here's the formula, and here's the symbolic representation of the formula. Then we have income elasticity, which has to do with the degree of responsiveness of change in demand as a result of income, change in level of income. That is, when your income increases, you tend to buy more. And if the income reduces, it reduces your purchasing power, your ability to buy, which will bring your quantity a bit down. So here's the formula: percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in income. That is, income being the only factor affecting demand. Then the third one is cost elasticity, which has to do with two commodities. So this is applicable in either joint or complementary demand, or close substitute or competitive demand. When you talk about joint or complementary demand, it has to do with two commodities that are needed to serve a particular one. For example, petrol and car. Your car cannot move without a petrol. And if the price of petrol either increases or decreases, it affects the quantity of car that is going to be bought. Then, and it's always a negative for joint or complementary demand. Then for competitive, it's always a positive for joint or complementary demand, and always a negative for competitive demand. Competitive demand are commodities that share similar features or characteristics. That is, they can take the place of one another. If the price of one increases, it positively affects the other one, and so on. So, for example, you have your Milo and Bonvita. Say, for example, if you are a lover of Milo and the price of Milo just increases, because of your level of income did not change, you can decide to consider Bonvita, because since they are the same, they are both beverage and they can perform the same function. So why don't I switch? As a rational consumer, I can decide to switch to Bonvita, which means that the quantity demanded for Milo will reduce, which will in turn increase the quantity demanded for Bonvita. So that's a negative relationship. That is, as one is increasing, the other is decreasing, and as the other, and vice versa. So cross elasticity has to do with degree of responsiveness of demand, of change in demand for a commodity brought about by change in price of the other commodity. So we have the formula as percentage change in quantity demanded of commodity Y divided of X, commodity X, divided by percentage change in price of commodity Y. Alright, so then we go to elasticity of supply, which has to do with the change in supply. The only factor that affects supply is the price, because it has to do with supplier and producer. The only thing that interests the supplier and producer is profit. And according to the law of supply, the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied, and the lower the price, the lower the quantity supplied. Every consumer wants to supply more when the price is high, because that is where we make more profits. So it measures the responsiveness of quantity supplied as a result of change in price of a good. Alright, so here's the formula: percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. price being the only factor that affects supply. Then we have some result interpretation. So we have result interpretation for demand and we have result interpretation for supply. For elasticity of demand, E is the symbol for elasticity, capital E. So when E is greater than 1, it is called elastic or fairly elastic demand. And when E is lesser than 1, it is called inelastic or fairly inelastic demand. And when it is 1, it is called either unit or unitary. And when it is 0, it is called a perfectly inelastic or a zero inelastic demand. And when it is infinite, it is called a perfectly elastic or infinitely elastic demand. Therefore, supply, we have when E is lesser than 1 and greater than 1, it is called elastic or fairly elastic supply. When E is greater than 0 but lesser than 1, it is called inelastic or fairly inelastic supply. And when you have your E equals to 1, it is called unitary or elastic supply, unitary or unit elastic supply. Then when it is 0, it is called a zero elastic supply. And when it is infinite, we have infinitely elastic supply. So here are some questions that we try to apply those knowledge to. So given a demand function as D equals 10 minus 0.2 P, calculate the price elasticity of demand at P equals 10 and D equals 8. So here we are given a function. So we use the first order calculus to differentiate in respect to P. Coming here, you see that when you use the first order derivative, the only other things are constant. The only thing that has a coefficient is the P. So when you differentiate in respect to P, you know that anything that is standing alone is to the power of 1, which automatically becomes a 1, and you multiply it by 1. So 0.2 multiplied by 1 will give you a 0.2. So that's how we got this minus 0.2 here. Then the next thing we do is we divide P over D. We are given the value of P as 10 from the question, and we're given the value of D as 8. So when you divide, you have 10 divided by 8 multiplied by minus 0.2. You have minus 0.25. But you have to take one thing in consideration. In elasticity of demand and supply, we do not take into cognizance the negative sign. So it is automatically ignored because there's usually no negative change in elasticity. Okay, so in the elasticity concept, we say the negative sign is always ignored. So looking at the question, the options, you see option A as 0.2, option B as 0.25, C as 0.1, and D as 0.15. So the appropriate from the solution we have here, the appropriate answer to this question is the option B, 0.25. That is removing the negative sign, ignoring the negative sign. So we have here 2016. What is the major determinant of price elasticity of demand? We told you. I told you when I was explaining the concept of elasticity of demand that there are 3 main factors that affect demand. We have price of the other commodity, and income. So looking at the options that were given, I told you the main factor that affects demand is price. Other factors taken into consideration, but price is the main factor. They asked for the major, and price is the major factor that affects demand. So here you have your price of the commodity as the option A, B, availability of the factors of production, we are not concerned with that. C, the price of the factor of production, we are not concerned with that. And the income of the consumer. The only 2 suitable options is the option A and the option D. But in this sense, we are asked to pick out the major determinant of price elasticity of demand, which is, as the name, price elasticity of demand. We know that the only factor that affects price elasticity of demand is price itself, which is price of the commodity. And the correct option to this question is the option A, which is the price of the commodity. So you have 2016. If the price of yam decreases from 15 naira per tuber to 13.50 naira, and the quantity supply decreases by 20%, what is the elasticity of supply? From the formula, you know that elasticity of supply is calculated by percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. So when we talk about the price, I came up with an easy way to understand the formula. When I say a change, that is, for a change to occur, that is, you subtract the new or the current from the previous. So where you have your new price from the old price divided by the old price. So for the price, in the question we are given the percentage change in the quantity supply. So from the formula we ignore this because we have been given. We are only asked to solve for this. So the change in the price is 15 naira, which is the current price, which is the old, from the new price, which is 13.5. So if you look at it, you see that most likely get a negative. But as I said before, in elasticity, we ignore the negative sign. So 13.5 minus 15, you have your minus 1.5. So dividing through, you have a minus 10. So now, looking at the question, the question says the quantity supply decreases by 20%. So there's a decrease, means that a reduction, and a reduction in elasticity is a minus. So using the formula, percentage change in quantity supply, which is minus 20, divided by percentage change in price, which is minus 10. So you divide, you get a 2. So the appropriate answer for this question is option A, where you have your 2.0. You know that 2.0 is the same thing as 2. Then you have a question here in a tabular form. Price as 10. So this is the old, this is the new. This is the old, this is the new. So using the formula, they said from the table above, elasticity of supply is, what they are trying to tell us is here, solve for the value and interpret your results. So I told you how we interpret results previously. So let's solve for the value. That is the new quantity supply over the old quantity supply divided by the old quantity supply. So what's the new quantity supply? Is 58. The old is 100. So when you make your deduction, you have 42 divided by 100. So here, 100 strikes out 100. So you have your negative 42 as your answer for change in quantity supply, percentage change in quantity supply. Then for the price, the old price is 20 and the new is 16. Subtracting 20 from 16 here, you have a minus 4. So multiplying it by 100, minus 4 over 20 times 100, your 20 strikes out, goes in 100 5 times. So you have your minus 4 times 5, which will give you a 20. That's how we got the denominator here. So bringing the formula together, the value for percentage change in quantity supply is minus 42, which we have here, and the value for percentage change in price is minus 20. So when you do your division, you know that 20 minus negative strikes out the negative, which has automatically taken care of the negative sign. Then you have your 42 divided by 20. You know that 20 goes in 42 2 times with a remainder of 2. So that will automatically become a decimal, and you have 20, which will give you 2.1. So looking at the question, now we're asked to interpret what we have here. Remember, when your elasticity of supply is 1, it is called unitary. When it is less than 1, it is called inelastic. When it is greater than 1, it is called elastic. So you can see that since elasticity of supply, that is our result, is greater than 1, so the appropriate answer or the appropriate name given to, or the appropriate interpretation given to this solution is the option C, which you have your elastic supply, because it is greater than 1.